Hey guys, it's Chase with csjoseph.life doing another episode for Season 19. This is Patreon Gold Tier, Season 19, Episode 9, and it is all about cognitive development, cognitive integration, and the path to enlightenment for ENFPs, aka the Advocate, aka the Bard. And I'm very happy to be here because this is the final day of 2019, and I just wanted to get the Season 19 episode in the bag for all of my wonderful patrons. Happy New Year, and the new year will be a happy year. And likely in part due to ENFPs. Showing and telling all of us how much value they can give us on a regular basis, because ENFPs are all about, delivering value. And we're actually going to be talking about in this lecture exactly how ENFPs deliver value to others, be it from their salesy side, or maybe it's because they're expressing gratitude and giving you value because of all the value you have given them, right? So we're going to be discussing all that today in today's lecture. But first things first, let's talk about the point of the ENFP archetype. What is the purpose of the ENFP archetype, and how does that translate into cognitive development? So this is how to cognitively develop ENFPs. So the purpose of the ENFP is to be an advocate for their fellow man, the advocate for humanity, the bard, basically. And the bard, singing songs and bringing back nostalgia in such a way where they become a constant reminder of at least the value that humanity has, so that people who are in positions of being, a judge or positions of power, they listen to the never-ending influence exerted upon them by the ENFP, so that those judges may potentially have mercy upon, people that the ENFP is advocating for. How is it possible that the ENFP is remotely good at this? It's because the ENFP is a person who actually needs to be the focus or the receiver of such mercy. And because an ENFP is able to garner mercy towards themselves, they learn how to change the thinking of others and provide influence in such a way where they're actually able to take people's attention and mercy and give it to others. They're able to guide and divert mercy towards others so that people are more forgiving as a result of the influence of the ENFP. This is the primary purpose of the ENFP. Sure, it's all about creating a philosophy, but the thing is that the ultimate philosophy that the ENFP has is the philosophy of gratitude. This is where their virtue of charity comes from. You will not find anyone more charitable than an ENFP. Just remember, there's a big difference between charity and generosity. Generosity happens to be, or altruism is the virtue of the ENTJ type, but it is not the same as charity. Charity is giving, generosity is giving, but generosity is giving to like one person. It's a big, huge thing every once in a while. Charity is giving to many people, small things, quite often. It's about size and frequency when we're comparing charity versus generosity, etc. And it's no different with ENFPs. That's how they engage in charity. The problem is that they can be very viceful, and they usually almost are viceful, especially when they're growing up. So it's important that Templar types are around them so that these Templar types can get into the philosopher's face, aka this ENFP, and hold this ENFP accountable such that it prevents depravity from forming, and depravity being like an absolute high level of selfishness, because the ENFP is at risk of becoming the most absolute selfish of all of the types because of their FI parent combined with their SI inferior. That pessimistic, introverted feeling, that pessimistic, moralistic, principled point of view, which is very pessimistic and being very pessimistic about their own comfort level. The pessimism of both of these things combining together, the FI parent with their SI inferior, it actually can create some serious issues. So I'm actually added let's look at the whiteboard here that I prepared for this lecture. So you can see the cognitive functions. I'm talking about the parent function and the inferior function. Those two combine together, and if the parent is being irresponsible and not really well developed yet, well, guess what? It's going to turn into depravity, and then we have the vice of depravity. But how do you type an ENFP? How do you identify an ENFP? Well, if you're using the type grid, you literally look for the starter interaction style, the starter communication style, which is informative, initiating movement, and then you multiply that by the temperament in the idealist side. So the idealist temperament, so the starter idealist equals, starter plus idealist equals ENFP, aka the bard or the advocate. That's how you know what type, that's how you identify this type. And starter type for initiating movement, the idealist type, which is abstract, affiliative, and interest-based. Remember, interest is all about creating a win-win. The ENFP lives life in such a way where they're all about getting theirs. They don't necessarily care that you get yours. They don't necessarily care that anyone gets anything. They don't care about the best way of doing things. They only care about getting theirs. As long as they get theirs, they're happy. They're cool. Everything's good. Which, because of that, they can come off as someone who's like using everybody. They can come off as super hyper manipulative. They can come off as super selfish. They can come off as that used car salesman. They can come off as that person that if you don't have everything handled with the fine print, they will take everything you have. They will take you for a ride. They will manipulate your thoughts. They will sneak things in their fine print in their contract. Be like, hey man, you agreed to this, so you just have to deal with it. You know what I mean? Uh, ENFPs, like oftentimes, I'm sure ENFPs and INFPs, but NFPs in general, especially, well, the philosopher quadra that ENFPs are derived from. I mean, quite frankly, many people believe that this quadra invented usury, aka charging people interest, right? And ENFP is always there to collect interest. How many times you see ENFPs going around with their thugs to perform shakedowns and collect their money, and if they don't get their money collected, then they're gonna roll up their sleeves and they're gonna beat that person to remind them that they owe them money, and then they come back and do it again and again, and they'll start destroying their shop. The whole entire motif is literally ENFPs when they're depraved, because that's their ESTP superego demon coming out and being like, hey man, you owe me, which is like the absolute opposite of being grateful. You could almost argue that their virtue and vice is literally gratitude versus being grateful versus being ungrateful. You can kind of think of their virtue and vice in that manner or that regard. But like all ENFPs, while they have that huge penchant for depraved evil, they have the ability to show the utmost highest gratitude, which leads to their virtue of charity. And it's because of this level of charity and how giving they can be with that high frequency, high quantity, a level of giving, they end up gathering themselves up a reputation or an influence that causes people in positions of power to listen and show mercy, hopefully to the ENFP as well as to others. Why is that important? The reason why is that by default, this is the default, the vice of the ENFP of being depraved, they end up having, it is by default. An ENFP, quite frankly, starts out as depraved. They don't start out as charitable. It's a learned behavior. Their virtue is a learned behavior because their introverted sensing has to actually develop the habit, because introverted sensing is based on habit. They have to develop the habit of being charitable. They have to develop the habit of gratitude, right? So before this happens, they're depraved. And guess what? Everybody knows it. So they end up having this reputation of selfishness, this reputation of depravity, this reputation of self-interest, this reputation of being manipulative. I oftentimes accuse ENFPs of being manipulative, used car salesmen, always trying to get theirs, always trying to nail people in the fine print, always trying to, collect their interest, always trying to collect their debts. It's kind of like that story in the Bible who, this ENFP gets caught in the authorities, and he owed somebody like thousands and thousands in money, etc. And he was taken to court, and the court had mercy on him because he was begging for mercy in front of the court, and the court had mercy on him, and he didn't have to pay the debt anymore. He was released from his debt. And then that very same day, that afternoon, after he was out of court, he found someone that owed him like $10, and like he got really mad at that guy and like beat him up and like went all SE demon with his ESTP side. You better pay off your debt, better pay off your debt. And then the judge that had mercy on him found out about it because, the reputation for depravity. Yeah, found out about that ENFP and went and told his soldiers to go pick up that ENFP and threw his ass in jail. And be like, wow, I'll never show mercy to you ever again. Word gets around. Everybody knows. So if you're an ENFP and you're depraved, guess what? Everyone knows it. And people just tolerate you. And yet all of a sudden those ENFPs are walking around, well, I have such a glowing personality and like I'm so like important and I deserve special treatment. And it's like, yeah, no you don't. You only imagine that. Like, why do you ENFPs walk around believing that people even think about you? No one thinks about you. No one cares. No one actually cares. I didn't become a man until I realized that I needed to care. So why do you guys think that people care? Why do you guys think people care to think about you? Why do you believe you're so important, Conor McGregor, that people actually think about you? No one thinks about you. You're not that popular. No one actually cares. That guy's an ENFP, but for some reason he just imagines everyone cares about him, right? Here's another story about an ENFP from the Bible. Gosh, I love using biblical examples because it really hits home. You know what I'm saying? The prodigal son. Hey, that's just smart work. I'm just going to take my dad's inheritance and I'm going to go squander it. And then I'm going to realize that I'm even lower than I was before. Oh, my servants have it way better off. And my SI inferior sucks because I'm in the ditch, eating at a pig farm and eating the slop from the pig trough. Maybe I should go get my life together. And then he ends up going back to his father's house and his father has mercy on him at the jealousy of his brother. Wow. Wow. Oh, wait a minute. That sounds like something that exactly happened in my own family because I have an ENFP in my family and that's literally what happened. Yeah. Wow. Wow. Yeah, my ISTP grandfather definitely showed mercy to my ENFP uncle. And that really upset my INFJ uncle, his brother. Yeah, you can imagine how that went down. Yeah. Wow. You can really imagine how that went down. It's still a family problem to this day. They don't talk. I don't talk to the ENFP either for very good reason. And I don't know. I'm not going to say much further on that, but anyway, the point is that ENFPs have these struggles, and sometimes their default is depravity, and word gets out, and then they end up having this reputation. And the reason why the depravity sets in is because they are ungrateful. ENFPs are ungrateful to begin with. Why is that? Think about it. A cat, right? Cats and dogs, right? A dog is like, you take care of a dog, dog's a puppy, you love on the dog, you take care of the dog, you provide for the dog looks up at you and is like, wow, you must be God. But then you do that for a cat. You get a cat, you get a little kitten, you take care of the kitten, you feed the kitten, you pet the kitten, and the kitten grows up, and the cat, and then it's like a cat, and then it's like, wow, you take care of me, you feed me, you give me a bed, you keep me warm, all these things. Wow, I must be God. And then you end up having these little emperors, these little ENFP children that are like potentially spoiled. The ones that are spoiled, they get super depraved. And that depravity is kind of a default state for most ENFPs. Let's be honest. Now, if they have like an STP parent, probably not going to go that way. And that's very healthy for NFPs to have STP parents because I've noticed that the best NFPs out there are the ones who have STP parents because STP parents don't suffer that. They don't put up with that. Although STP parents often show a little too much mercy to their NFP children. That is one issue. But that's just my personal bias and my own personal opinion on that. We'll just leave that at that. So, but the point is, like, when it comes to ENFPs, realize that default mode of depravity can be an issue, and they end up having a reputation. They end up having a reputation for it, and that could definitely be a problem. Having that reputation, but they learn through self-discipline that over time, okay, hey, I'm not getting any opportunities for myself. Everyone thinks that I'm just this horrible person. So what does the ENFP do? They move. They move to a different culture. They move to a different town. They move to a different place where they don't have that reputation anymore. And it's like they get to start their depravity all over again, and they move around like a virus, consuming everything in their path. Because, when you have depravity vice, You just start consuming and consuming and consuming like a virus and not actually contributing in any way, shape, or form. And then they literally have the reputation of being a virus. When you look at Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, the character Mundungus, that's an ENFP. ENFPs, do you guys really understand that? You're that guy. You're literally Mundungus. What are you going to do about it? See, so if Mundungus, who has a reputation of being a thief, a reputation of always being on the take, a reputation for being depraved, a reputation for always going to shyst you, what do? Charity. Charity is the answer. Because an ENFP at first will start to become charitable because it's like, okay, if I have the reputation of being charitable, then I can conceal my depravity. Because they usually, especially the more depraved ones, the more immature ones, they experiment with charity to just make it look like they're charitable, to make it look like they're being grateful. It's funny, actually, I was coaching an ENFP recently, and he even admitted to me in the coaching session, oh yeah, man, I just went to the gym and I got really ripped and whatnot, and then I just bought a bunch of supplements. I didn't even know it was in the supplements, but then I made the claim that the supplements helped me get ripped, and then people bought them, and then I made a lot of money off of that. It was completely bogus, but people bought it. People just did it, and I'm like, okay, wow, man. I mean, whatever makes you happy, I guess. A good thing there's TI users out there that at least verify ingredients and verify your story first. But I mean, hey, if you've been really content to do that, I mean, go for it, Mr. ENFP. I mean, you got it all handled, I'm not going to get in your way. You're pretty cool, Thank you for at least coming to me and considering, taking my advice so that you can be a better person in the process, I enjoyed criticizing him and telling him the truth, right? And he's better off for it. But the bottom line is that even he had to come to terms with that. He has a reputation for depravity, so maybe he should be charitable. Now, the mature ENFP over time, as they reach cognitive development and cognitive integration, they start to realize the importance of charity. Because it's like, okay, great. If everyone thinks I'm on the take, if everyone thinks I'm depraved, I need to change that. So I need to give, and give publicly. And that's the thing. That's one of the reasons why, when you think biblically speaking, people that give in public, this is why Jesus says, oh, they got their reward. They got their little reputation buff. All those Pharisees and teachers of the law who are praying so loudly in the streets and making themselves look so good in the process, and giving lots of money at the temple collection box in front of everybody. Oh, they look so charitable, but they just got their reward. But he who gives in silence, he will be rewarded by his Father in heaven, right? That's the way to do it, right? You see what I'm saying, guys? It's not good enough to just use charity as a vehicle to hide your depravity. You have to actually be truly charitable. I mean, think about it, ENFPs. Why do you think you're supposed to be in relationships, sexual relationships, intimate relationships with Templar types? Because Templar types will see what you do. Templar types will see what you're getting out of things. Templar types will be able to criticize you for being depraved and lacking in character, and they'll keep you honest. Because someone has to. Because oftentimes, ENFPs can get so depraved because it's all they've ever been used to, because they've become so spoiled, these immature ENFPs, to the point where their parents have either spoiled them, or they end up spoiling themselves after they get away from the parents who have held them accountable for so long. But when they start being on their own, they end up spoiling themselves before being charitable to anyone else. And also they have the reputation for depravity. Again, this is why depravity is the default. And they have to be charitable. Charitable, and they can't be just charity for charity's sake. They can't be charitable just to look like they're charitable, to hide the fact that they're depraved, which they do all the time. And they get so diluted in that. ENFPs get so diluted that they don't even think, or they don't even realize how manipulative they are. They don't even realize how on the take they are. Their head is so out of their own skin, or they can't see past their own nose. They don't even realize how selfish they are. And it's not until they find something or someone they really, really want, and then all of a sudden harsh reality sets in when that person rejects them and says, I don't want you because I don't trust you, because it's all about you. It's always what you want. You're always on the take. You're not about anyone else. You're not giving anything. It's all about, as long as you get yours, you're good, right? And it's really frustrating. And then all of a sudden, the ENFP's SI and Fury is hurt, oh, I just got rejected by this person. Maybe it was being rejected by a woman, for example, or rejected by a man, and I can't believe he doesn't want me. I dress in a certain way, I get catcalled all the time and it makes me feel good, even though like the men that are catcalling the ENFP woman who dresses in that certain way, you know what I'm talking about. Those are low quality men, LOL. Yeah, she got her reward, but he who gives in secret will get rewarded by his Father in heaven. But if you give in public and make it a show, oh, you get your reward. And I'm sure she's really enjoying those low quality men, like she deserves, right? Where's the charity, folks? Where's the charity? And quite frankly, that's what cognitive development all is. It's all about cognitive integration is. It's all about what the path to enlightenment is. How can an ENFP conduct themselves in such a way to fulfill their true purpose? The true purpose of being grateful. The true purpose of becoming the advocate for humanity, such that where they're able to extract all the empathy and the mercy out of their fellow man when they needed to do that, to direct it on themselves, to get mercy for themselves because everyone knows they're a depraved hack. And then they realize, wow, I just got off by the hairs of my chin, you know what I'm saying? Wow, I'm good, I got mine, but there's a lot of other people out there that need mercy too. Maybe I should advocate for them too and get them mercy because I got mercy. Oh, wow, that's the purpose of ENFPs. That's why they exist, huh? Let me ask you this, ENFPs. Why do you think that Jesus, the greatest INFJ in history, says that the greatest in the kingdom of heaven is John the Baptist? John the Baptist, an obvious starter type, right? He's a starter type. Constantly talking about how, the coming of the Son of God is coming. Very abstract, always talking about the future, NE. So he's obviously an NE hero. But, he's pretty affiliative. Doing that ISTJ subconscious thing of being able to live on bugs out in the wilderness. You know what I'm saying? That's very ISTJ subconscious, being super minimalist, because I know some ENFPs that can get super minimalist is when they're being super charitable. The more charitable an ENFP is, the more minimalist they are. Kind of interesting how it is. It's like that materialism that gets sucked away because they realize that materialism is something that actually ends up harming their SI inferior because materialism is a byproduct of them having the reputation for being depraved. And then that causes no one to want them anymore. But then and then they're alone. But then they become super giving and charitable, and then all of a sudden everyone wants them. Interesting how that works. I'm sure John the Baptist figured that out super quick because, John the Baptist was an ENFP. And it's kind of interesting that Jesus says that John the Baptist is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. So even an ENFP can become the greatest in the kingdom of heaven, but they have to, actually be charitable and go all the way with it and not just be charitable for the sake of covering up the fact that they're depraved. You see what I'm saying, guys? Do you guys not understand how important the ENFP is? This is quite frankly... And I've said this before in season 14 for the Golden Pair, and I really, really don't like buffing up the ego of the ENFP, but here's the bottom line. ENFPs, quite frankly, are the most important of all the types, and the reason why is because without ENFPs, the rest of humanity will not have the mercy it needs to survive. Because when the judge comes... when the end of days comes, when the judge comes, and yes, I sound all churchy and all preachy and whatnot. It's just metaphysical examples, guys. You can talk about Armageddon, but it's not necessarily that. When the judge comes, when the IRS comes, right? When you're in divorce court, when any of these situations, wouldn't you really want an ENFP advocating for you and trying to garner as much empathy from your fellow human beings that are prosecuting you in that moment so that they go easy on you? Wouldn't you really want that person there? I dare say that's why ENFPs are basically the most important. And especially if you come to the point of the INFJ, Jesus Christ, who ultimately owns humanity, and if he's the judge, wouldn't you want John the Baptist, the ENFP, the one that Jesus says is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven, to be advocating for you before the judge after you die? Wouldn't you find that super important? There's a reason. But like, oh, Mr. C.S. Joseph, you're so harsh on ENFPs. You obviously hate them and you're really biased against them and you think so little of them and you go out of your way to stomp on them every single time. You're so unfair. Like, yeah, I am. I am biased against them because I have to be, because it's my duty, because if I don't, then they're going to become ungrateful, depraved people who will not be able to get the mercy that I need. Do you understand? Because if I praise them, if I worship them, they get depraved. And then they're basically worthless. You see? How useful are they? They're nothing more than novel. Their job is to extract mercy from others and redirect it. And it usually starts with trying to do it and redirecting it towards themselves so people have mercy on them for being so depraved. And they're the most selfish of us all. Don't you guys understand this dichotomy of where I'm coming from here? And this is absolutely central to their cognitive development. It's essential to their path to enlightenment because this is the result. That is the result of their enlightened state, is being able to be that advocate for humanity. But they cannot advocate for anyone until they become grateful to those who have helped them first. That is a fact. That is literally how it works. Understand this, okay? So how do I come to these conclusions, right? Well, let's talk about that by looking at the whiteboard here and actually going through the entire process by which ENFPs need to follow to become enlightened human beings. So what is the path to enlightenment? The path to enlightenment is where a human being is able to fully unlock all four sides of the mind. Right now, everyone is very burdened. They are not enlightened. They are burdened because their souls are basically split into pieces. Their souls need to come together. Their souls need to be united, and they're not. They're split into four pieces, the four sides of the mind. And think of the four sides of the mind as one giant field with four crops in this field, and one field to the ENFP, that's the ego. That one is the crop that has the highest yield, and they could probably has a lot of yield, and it's very reliable, and they can always make money off that ego anytime. They go to the subconscious. It doesn't yield as much, but it's super mega valuable if it can get a little bit out of it. But they don't like to spend as much effort over there because it's easier to get a better crop, a more reliable crop out of the ego. And then there's the unconscious, which, it yields a little bit more, but it's still not as valuable. It's not sure whether or not I should invest as much in that one either. But like the absolutely valuable stuff is the subconscious. And then there's that crop really far away. I mean, it's the most distance I have to walk, and I have to get all the water over there. And, I don't even know if I should bother having any investment in that at all because I don't know if I'm going to get anything good. And the last time I tried to do it in that superego field over there, that superego crop, well, it didn't work out for me. It just produced a bunch of thorns and thistles for me. It didn't actually have any yield whatsoever. And this is literally the default state of an ENFP's mind. And it's like they spend all their time watering their ego because it's the safe and reliable thing to do, right? Instead of like getting out to the rest of their sides of the mind and actually developing themselves as a result. That's what happens. Well, how do you get around that? It's pretty simple, like just understand like it's simple and it's required, So, but how do you do that? Well, you do that by unlocking the four gateways. There are four gateway functions, and they're like these little hatches that you can open up that lets the irrigation water to water your fields. Okay, water the four sides of the mind, each of the fields within the four sides of the mind. That's how there are these four gateways. The first gateway is the hero function. The second gateway is the inferior function. The third gateway is the unconscious. And the fourth gateway is the third gateway is the nemesis function. The fourth gateway is the demon function. The four gateways. And you unlock those gateways to be able to get into those fields. You could go into these gateways in different ways. You could go into a chaotic manner or you can go into an orderly manner, right? What happens when you take water and you have in a big 3 or 5 gallon jug and you're pouring water out of this big ass jug into like a smaller water bottle, like a maybe a 32 or 64 ounce clean canteen, right? You're filling it full of water. And then this water, it's just coming out so hard. And it's like getting everywhere and go boom, 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 out of this big ass water bottle and whatnot. And then all of a sudden enough air gets in that water bottle and it comes out a nice smooth stream, nice and orderly, not chaotic. It's fantastic. It's smooth. It's easy. It's even coming out of the bottle even faster, and it's able to move, and it even has a little bit of pressure, and it's so much better. That's the difference between a chaotic and an orderly cognitive transition, okay? And the object of the game is to get to a point where with all the gateways within your mind, you're able to enter into all four sides of your mind in an orderly manner instead of a chaotic manner. Because if it's chaotic, you're going to be more towards your vice of depravity. But if it's orderly, you're going to get more towards your virtue of gratitude, aka charity. Charity is the number one result of gratitude, okay? Because ENFPs are so ungrateful, aren't they? Gosh, I love publicly shaming ungrateful ENFPs. It's one of my favorite pastimes. You know what's even more interesting? It's my wife's most favorite pastime. Oh, I literally get to sit back, pull out a nice big thing of popcorn, melted butter, maybe a little bit of cheese on that, some salt, a little oil. Fantastic. And I'm just chomping away as I watch her pull out her fiery sword of truth. And she gets them on the ground. She's holding her sword above them. And she's like, I'm going to lop your head off. Tell me exactly why I should show mercy to you. Right? They really wish they were grateful then, huh? You know what I'm saying? Love that fiery sword of truth. But I mean, hey, if it was my turn, at least, that fiery sword of truth leads to mercy. For me, justice. I'm okay with justice. My icy sword of truth is waiting to exact justice. I'm cool because justice, those wounds won't heal. Those wounds will be permanent, right? So I'm sure that ENFP would much rather feel the fire instead of feel the ice, if you know what I'm saying. So the first gateway is the hero function, and in order to unlock someone's ego, it's usually the gateway that's been given to you by default, but even, yes, it is the first gateway, and yes, you have it early on in your development as a child, and you have this hero gateway, and it's fantastic, but then you start cognitive looping with your child function, because remember, in cognitive development, your hero function develops first, followed by your child function. Then your inferior function develops next, actually, because the hero function developed first. Because then the hero function developed first, its cognitive axis will have to develop, because the child function as a primary function, as a optimist function, develops second. Then the one that develops last is the parent function, in that order. And it's the same way for all of the sides of the mind for cognitive development. It's the same, okay? So based on that, oh, gosh, I love raising my voice at ENFPs. It's great. I really enjoy it. It's one of my most favorite things to do with this whole thing. I got up this morning full of joy, knowing that I'll be making the camera melt over ENFPs today. I was very happy. Anyway, let's continue. So, expert intuition hero, right? Okay, so it's like give what everyone else wants. It's all about giving what other people want. Extroverted thinking child. It's all about my status, my titles, making myself look good. It's also about finding all the pieces of knowledge and trying to discover the truth. But then in the absence of explanation, in the absence of communication, perceptions become reality. TE child is all about belief. And what happens when, hey, I'll give you what you want. I'll tell you some random story and make you believe something. That's what you want. And that's where the ENFP manipulation comes from. And because they have TI trickster, they're not even aware that they're manipulative. And then they get so butthurt when they have someone like CS Joseph or Railgun walking in the room with their TI parents being like, yo, you're manipulative AF. Oh, no, we're not. How could you say that? It's like, yeah, because you're not even aware you do it, TI trickster. Don't even go there with me. Everyone around you sees you and judges you manipulative, and you're not even aware. You're so deluded. You're so delusional. You're so, the world, the veil pulled over your eyes. You can't even see. Your eyes aren't even open, and you're so ignorant. You can't even accept it for what it is, a fact. Because in your world, facts don't exist because anything can be true. Oh, anything can be true. That's your truth. This is my truth. Absolute truth doesn't exist. You know what's so funny about that? That's one of the greatest hypocrisies of ENFPs, and I'll show you why in a minute. So, any heroes out, but hey, cognitive development, I'm using my hero all the time and I got my child, but then my inferior function is there. Okay, cool, but where's my parent function? Wait a minute. So an irresponsible ENFP is a manipulative ENFP, and they're not even aware that they manipulate others, because it's like, hey, my child function and my hero function is cognitive looping, and I'm like, hey, I'm giving people what they want. People will just want to believe something, so I'm giving them something to believe. They would rather believe a lie, so I'm just going to tell them a lie because that's what they want. I just have this ultimate excuse of just giving people what they want. It's just what they want, so I'm not doing anything bad. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just giving them what they want. That's okay. That's okay, right? I'm just giving them what they want. I know that they want to have lies and not truth. I mean, even my any hero knows that, but that doesn't stop me, right? Because #TI parent, right? I know that people would rather hear lies than truth, and yet I still have to expose my flawed self to people by using my icy sword of truth on them and myself as I exact justice, because that's how TI works. But ENFPs, they get a free pass because it's like, oh, I'm just telling them what they want to hear, right? And not very many people question them on it. But me, I start coming around with my TI parent, oh yeah, I get nothing but flack, right? So ENFPs can kind of they're a little slippery, they're a little slick. They could just kind of get out of that situation. Yeah, I'm the one that's accused of being creepy and manipulative and on the take. Sometimes even by my own family. Wow, right? Hypocrites. Here's the thing, though. In order for an ENFP to reach to be able to have mastery of ego, in order to be able to do the path to enlightenment, they have to achieve personal responsibility. Why is this necessary? What is the object? What is the point of the path to enlightenment? The point of the path to enlightenment is integrating all four sides of your mind, but they are at odds with each other. And the ego is like, okay, yeah, subconscious is great. That's where my source of happiness. The unconscious is great. That's where my source of maturity comes from. Superego, that's where my source of power comes from. Oh yeah, I want power. And then they want to make that Faustian deal. Those ENFPs, because they're triple movement, right? They're the first. They're the types that will be the quickest to make that deal with the devil. Because from their point of view, hey man, it's got the fine print. I could fine print anyone. I can get anything I want out of anyone as long as hey, as long as it's in the fine print. And then they try to have that fine print deal with the devil, but don't worry that that TE critic of the devil will definitely nail him every time. You think that TE critic's gonna be cool with that fine print? And then the ENFP all of a sudden has just lost their soul. Wonder how that works. I wonder how Faust really felt when he realized that he got outwitted in that situation. Maybe he was hoping he could finally make a telephone booth magically appear and then make a call to a Charlie Daniels, hoping that he could have a nice little showdown with his violin to get the devil to go screw off or something like that, to get some mercy out of for himself because of Charlie Daniels' skill. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen, Mr. House. Your turn to burn, right? So yeah, no one's down for that. But here's the thing, remember, the superego, it's like it doesn't even want to be integrated the other four sides of the mind. So, and the ego's like, hey, I'm just going to jump to you, superego, and use your demonic power for my own gain. Yay. And the superego's like, okay, sure, go for it. And then all of a sudden their entire world explodes, and then reality is on fire, and then the ENFPs basically lost everything, and they wonder what happened. It's like a nuclear explosion happened, and then all of a sudden their reputation is destroyed. No one wants them anymore, and everyone is super mega uncomfortable around them because everyone's like, wow, that guy is super depraved. And then the superego's like, hey, you wanted my power. I gave it to you. You made the rules. You made your bed. You have to sleep in it now. It's your own fault. You don't even realize it, right? Well, welcome to depraved ENFPs, right? So what do they do in that situation? Well, it could be a serious serious problem. But they can fix it. Well, they fix it like this. The superego wants to be able to respect the other sides of the mind. It wants to be able to. It wants to see that the ego is being responsible. It wants to see that the subconscious is being humble, and it wants to see that the unconscious is being wise, because it sees the unconscious as foolish. It sees the ego as irresponsible. It sees the subconscious as arrogant and prideful, and it's like, yo, I don't want to have anything to do with this. I am done. And that's why the ESTP demon behaves like the ESTP demon. It is demonic. It's because it doesn't want to have anything to do, much less lend its power to the ENFP ego. It's disgusted by the ENFP ego. It's absolutely disgusted by it. Ugh. It's constantly doing every day around the ENFP. It's like, I can't get the sleaze off of me. I got to take a shower all the time, is what ESTP superego is doing every day. It's because that ENFP is irresponsible, that irresponsible ego. It's because that ENFP is arrogant, thinking that it knows everything, or it can know everything if it just makes up a story, because people believe anything. Or it sees the ENFP being foolish, and being foolish about, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm making these bad, poor decisions, and these bad decisions, these bad business deals, and it's costing everybody else around the ENFP, much like the prodigal son did when he squandered his father's inheritance. INFJ unconscious. Are you kidding me? I hate that. And I've seen it over and over and over, where the ENFP borrows money from somebody else and then goes squander it. No wonder ENFPs are busy doing shakedowns to other people. No wonder ENFPs are stopping that man for that $10 that is owed, and is exacting that debt from that person and beating them with that ESTP superego, because they have their own debts to pay, because they can never pay their own debts for some reason. These depraved ENFPs, these immature ENFPs, I'm so sick of them. I'm tired of it. Well, they have to learn personal responsibility. That's the thing. And that comes through developing their FI parent, where they actually focus on actually being a good person. Instead of just telling people what they want to hear, they actually go find the knowledge and actually really truly tell people what they will want to hear, what they need to hear. Something that will actually give them value. Why? Because the ENFP FI parent combines with the SI inferior, and the SI inferior remembers every single person. SI long-term memory, the SI remembers every person that has helped my FI parent. Any person that has made me feel good, I remember this person made me feel good. I remember SI, this person TE made me feel good FI. And because they remember that, because the ENFP starts to keep track of every time someone gives to them, that means that it is the ENFP's duty and responsibility to show gratitude to this person. It's like a reverse covert contract, where that reverse covert contract is the responsibility and the duty of the ENFP, such that maybe ENFPs should stop allowing people to be nice to them. Maybe the ENFPs should stop allowing people to give to them, because they know that as soon as they allow someone to give to them, or as soon as they take something from somebody, then it's their responsibility to give back. Oh, haven't you noticed that about ESTPs? Try giving something to an ESTP. You give something to an ESTP, they're going to immediately give something back to you, because they won't want to be obligated later or guilted later into not giving something to you, because that's an obligation that can destroy their NI-inferior choice. Funny that the ESTP happens to be the superego of the ENFP, huh? Funny how that works. Huh. That's a coincidence, right? I mean, anything could be true, right? I think that's all part of you ENFP's design to teach you a lesson, right? Of course, everyone has that lesson in some capacity. ENFPs, You're supposed to be the most important of all of us. You're supposed to be our advocate, trying to extract mercy for the sake of all of our collective future. Our race, humanity, does not have a future if you are depraved. Humanity does not have a future if you are not able to get mercy for yourself so that you can get mercy for all of us. It's your job. It's your purpose. It's your duty. Otherwise, you have no value. Get out. And you can't do this until you learn personal responsibility and you show gratitude. Recognize it is your duty that anytime you take anything from anyone, that anytime you receive anything from anyone, a gift or whatever, it is your responsibility to show that person gratitude in some form or another. And always be grateful. And charity is an action that you could take to guarantee that you are always being grateful. Otherwise, you're irresponsible. And your superego your ESTP superego will not want to have anything to do with you. And you will never reach enlightenment. You'll never reach cognitive integration. You will just stay a depraved, unwanted, no reputation, no regard, disrespected ENFP in the ditch where you belong. Get some personal responsibility and get it now. And I promise you that superego might start being interested in you. And then you'll be able to eat of its amazing, powerful fruits because the ESTP superego is so extremely powerful. I will show you that it's probably one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful superego of them all. There's a reason that ESTP is the alpha of all the types. Imagine having the alpha of all the types as your superego, the most powerful side of the mind. The superego is where power exists, right? And if you want the alpha of all the types to be your source of power within your soul, man, miracles can happen. But you got to be willing to put in the work. Well, let's go a little bit further, shall we? Your subconscious, unlocking the subconscious, your second gateway. You just unlocked your conscious mind, which is your ego. You went through your hero function. You started developing your parent function by being grateful and showing gratitude to people. But your subconscious, yeah, he's being responsible with, people giving to him or her. That's fantastic. But what about the subconscious? Telling people what we want to hear. See, the subconscious, the ISTJ subconscious, what is it? It's the Library of Alexandria. It's supposed to be knowing things and always in the know. But the thing is that the ISTJ subconscious, it's like, hey man, I got my Rolodex, yeah, I kind of read books, I'm Ty Lopez, I got my stacks of them books all over the shelf and shit, I got my little cars here, I got my Lambo here, I got my Ferrari here, it's in my garage as I'm taking my little YouTube video, even though I technically rented it, and I'm not going to tell you that. Even though I never actually read all of these books, but I'm not going to tell you that. I mean, I opened them up and I may have read like a couple of, I did speed reading, bro. I only read the first sentence of the first paragraph and the last sentence of the next paragraph. And that's why I'm able to read a book a day, because that's my personal brand, because the ENFP is like, the walking personal brand and shit. Yeah, okay, Mr. Ty Lopez, you're totally brilliant. No wonder they offered you a spot in Mensa. See, how about actually being smart? How about humbling yourself and realizing that your TE child don't actually know anything? As soon as an ENFP can come to a place where, because they're already afraid that they don't have enough experience. They already have a fear of the unknown and doing things they've never done before. And because they have a fear of the unknown, ENFPs, when it's combined with TE child, it becomes fear of knowledge. Fear of gathering the wrong knowledge. It's fear of the trivial, which then inhibits them from even spending any time reading at all, because they don't know if they should be putting their faith into what they're reading. So then they choose not to read. And then they become ignorant. And then in that ignorance, they become arrogant. And they start pretending that they actually know things when they know nothing. And that leads to pride, which further adds to the depravity. Because not only are they irresponsible and ungrateful, but then they're also covering it up with prideful insecurity because they're afraid of putting their faith in the wrong book, putting their faith in the wrong knowledge, because they're not willing to trial and error and try everything out. Because ENFPs know they have SC demon, they can't learn from others' mistakes. They only have to learn from their own mistakes. They have to trial and error everything in life, but they're afraid of knowledge. They're afraid of the wrong knowledge. They're afraid of being trivial. But because they're afraid of becoming trivial, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy that is leading them to become trivial and worthless. Wow. What a waste. And then they cover it up with pride. Oh, and then that ESTP superego is like, whoa, you so prideful, bro. Come at me again. I'll give you my power, but I'm going to make you pay for it. And I'm going to make everyone that you care about pay for it too. Yeah, that's exactly how it goes. That ESTP is waiting because that ESTP superego is like, come here, man. Come here, man. Oh, yeah. You want to do it? You want to play a game? You want to play a game? Yeah. There's a reason why Jigsaw, in the Saw films, is an ESTP. That's ESTP superego. Want to play a game? Yeah. Because he's got ENFP superego. Want to play a game? Want to play a game? Gosh, these superegos, they're so powerful, aren't they? Right? And that, my ESFP superego, the Joker, right? It's like, it's quivering. It's like, yeah, it's sharp and it's nice, icy blade, that nice little icy dagger that it's got. It's like, my icy blade of truth. Anyone want to come? Anyone? Bueller? Wait, Ferris Bueller was an ENTP. There's a reason for that. So anyway, the point is pride. So the humility of the ENFP is that they need to stop being afraid of reading the wrong thing or learning the wrong thing or trying and erring the wrong thing, the wrong knowledge basically. As long as an ENFP devotes themselves through self-discipline to read things and try things they've never done before and get rid of the fear of the unknown and stop judging a book by its cover and just pick up the freaking book and read it and read all of it word for word, their extrovert intuition hero will activate. And they will start to see a pattern between every single thing they read. And their ISTJ subconscious will unlock and will become a Library of Alexandria such that all the knowledge that they've ever read in their entire life will literally be categorized in such a way, and their NE will be able to see a pattern between all of it, and they will be able to gather up all that information and literally create for themselves their I win button. Because as a philosopher type, the quadra, the purpose of the philosopher type is to create an I win button for life, aka the Philosopher's Stone. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, anyone? There's a reason for that. The Philosopher's Stone is their I win button. And you cannot have your I win button in life, the I win button that anything you touch turns to gold. The I win button that blesses you with health, wealth, and relationships. Damn, do I sound like a word of faith preacher right now? Ugh! But, it's the Philosopher's Stone. You know what I'm saying? There's a reason why word of faith preachers just happen to be STJ NFP Quadra. You ever thought of that? Joel Osteen, he's an INFP. You might want to think about that a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Gotta have that little I win button, that Philosopher's Stone. And they're not going to get that I win button for life unless they study. An ENFP who becomes an academic, who becomes a student and studies not just things that make them comfortable, but things that make them uncomfortable. Because by studying what makes them uncomfortable and being devoted to studying what makes them uncomfortable gives them power unlike anything that they've ever had. And this is how Tai Lopez got into Mensa. A TI trickster, folks, got into Mensa. Think about that. There's a reason. And now he's rich because he worked his ass off, because he realized that, I need to not be so entitled, because, ENFPs have an entitlement problem because of their depravity. And he realized that it was all about School of Hard Knocks. It was all about, I have to put in the effort. When Tai Lopez realized that he was the tortoise and not the hare, things began to change. And he started to reading. And this is why he says, reading is why I am rich. Reading is why I am successful, because I read. This is who you are, ENFPs. This is how you get closer to enlightenment. Devote yourself to reading and reading everything. And have faith that you will find the answers you're looking for, because you will, because your extrovert intuition here will see the pattern and you will find it, and you'll be able to create a path to get to where you want to go and create your life's I win button, your own philosopher's stone that you could use at any time, especially when you use it to gather up mercy for yourself and for all of your fellow humanity for our sake, so that we could all have a better future. This is your purpose. But as long as I get mine, right? Stop being lazy. Get off your ass. It doesn't matter if you go to college. It doesn't matter, I need to go to school, go to college, get a job. It doesn't matter what you achieve. It doesn't matter, your achievement needs to be not your little flashy credentials, not my titles. You know what I'm saying? It's got to be about my books. Where's my books? Were you sizing up other men by, how many books did you read this year? Does Tai Lopez literally walk around claiming he's read 365 books a year? Yes, he does. Think about that, folks. Yeah, you're right. I literally simultaneously bashed and insulted Tai Lopez and praised him in the literal same lecture. There's a reason for that. Come on, guys. Do you understand? I'm showing you the difference between an immature ENFP and an immature ENFP, because even Tai Lopez himself can actually grow. And he is. Or you look at Conor McGregor, who actually went backwards in his career, and all of a sudden he's making a comeback. There's a reason for that. The depravity, the pride got to him, right? Fear of the unknown. The unknown of him losing. That was an unknown. Humble yourselves. Recognize that you have to have the humility to accept that you don't know anything and you are not actually smart. Recognize the truth that you don't know anything. And once you realize that you don't know anything, and that life, I always hear ENFPs, even my dad says that, he's an ENFJ, and he's like, life is, it doesn't matter who you are, what you could do. You have to know the right people. That is a lie. People also say, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Wrong. That's useful. But then eventually, you may get on the team, and you may even be on deck, but eventually you're going to have an at-bat, and everyone will see how you'll be able to perform. Tell me, ENFPs, how is it that you can actually complete your life's purpose? Tell me how it's possible for you to complete your life's purpose if you do not have a valuable opinion. Because your job is to gather mercy for yourself and mercy for all of humanity, to be the advocate for yourself and the advocate for humanity. But how can you actually do that if you don't have a valuable opinion? Because you haven't read. If you're in a court of law and being an advocate for humanity, it would be nice if you actually spent the time studying, reading the law, wouldn't it? You think that might be important, right? Use your FI parent responsibly. You will know if you have your FI parent there, and as through your being grateful, you start reading books that you know that actually matter. Therefore, you won't have to be so afraid of the unknown and afraid of the novel, afraid of the trivial, and you'll actually be finding and reading books that have more valuable knowledge. You just have to read books that make you uncomfortable at first or you're not sure about, and then over time, you'll start to use your any hero to see the pattern of which books have the valuable gold nuggets that you're looking for. Just keep going. Be a prospector. Use your ISTJ subconscious's pickaxe and get to work. Find the gold nuggets. Stop expecting life in this society to serve up everything to you. It's sickening. Instead, rise to the occasion and be who you are supposed to be. Become that Library of Alexandria. Study and create your Philosopher's Stone. Use your Philosopher's Stone to get mercy for yourself and mercy for all of us. Use it to get rid of scarcity. Use it to change all of mankind for the better. We need you. Stop sacrificing your fellow man for the sake of your stone and start self-sacrificing for the sake of your stone. Your I-win button. Humble yourselves and realize you don't know anything, actually. But you can find out. And no one can find out better than you can. Get to reading. Become the Library of Alexandria. Make your Philosopher's Stone. Self-sacrifice your time and effort and your faith and your blood and sweat and tears. All you got to do is sit on your ass and open a book or download Audible. csjoseph.life/reading. Get an Audible account. Damn it. Get your little wireless headphones on, and every time you're driving, you're listening to a book. Every time you're doing dishes, you're listening to a book. Anytime you're doing the lawn, you listen to a book, right? You should always be on Audible at all times. There's no excuses. So the second gateway, where you get over your fear of the unknown and you start realizing it is your responsibility and your duty, and you have to develop your self-discipline to get in the know and read and read and read. And humble yourself because you know that you don't know anything, but you are working hard every day to find out so that you can know something, to make your opinion valuable. As a result of that humility, your subconscious will be fully formed and developed, and your ICJ subconscious will give you the most powerful opinion such that you can extract as much mercy that you need for yourself and others. Wow. Where you could literally create songs as a bard that turns the hearts of men. The sympathy that they hear coming from your songs, the sympathy will cause their hearts to bleed out empathy for everybody and their fellow man, such that you will be able to change the world. Why wouldn't you want that? Why wouldn't you do your duty? Damn it. But then, the third gateway, where you're worried about your own future. Yeah, you're so worried about your own future that you start taking, and you take, and you take, and you take, because it's like, I need to get as much as I can right now, because I might not be able to have the opportunity to get it later, because I'm so worried about my own future. And yet, any hero can create an opportunity for itself anytime. Stop worrying about your own future. This is the third gateway. You want to have full access to wisdom? Because you're foolish. Do you know how foolish it is for an ENFP to have a deal with somebody where it's like, hey man, we're going to create a win-win, but then because they're trying to win so hard in this deal, trying to achieve so hard in this deal, they have this other person, they end up creating a win-lose where they're the winner, but the other person is a loser. Is that really a win for the ENFP? Maybe for a time. And then they end up having the reputation for being on the take. Wow. And all because they're so worried that they won't have that opportunity for themselves later. And all of a sudden you hear about ENFPs complaining constantly about lost opportunities. I could have been with that girl. I could have had that car. I could have had that business. I could have. Wow. Or those other times where it's like, oh yeah, man, hey, that was a really good deal. I really got off on it. I kind of feel bad because, that guy didn't really know what he was doing. But hey, at least I got mine. Nice. Nemesis. Because of that worry, they end up taking things, and they end up taking so much that deals that they do, these ENFPs that they do, these immature ENFPs that they do, they end up taking too much. Wow. I had an ENFP take advantage of me recently. And we didn't even have an agreement. There was actually no commitment. They just made an assumption because it's like they put themselves above me. And it'd be like, well, he's obviously not complaining about it, so because he's not complaining about it, that I must be good then, so I guess that means I can take. I mean, he ain't complaining about it. I'm just going to take. Wow. So disrespectful. No, that's not appropriate. That's not good. And yet, these ENFPs are what? Triple affiliative? I thought they're supposed to be doing the right thing, right? Wow. No. They do the right thing when it suits them, right? These immature ENFPs. Wow. Right? ENFPs, you need to stop being worried about your future and actually start being fair and righteous, right? Because that's what INFJ unconscious is all about. It's about righteousness, right? It's about building character in others. But if you're not going to have good character, you can't build other characters in others. Remember, when you're making a deal with somebody, that somebody has to benefit just as much as you do. You need to make sure you are committed that in every deal that you do with other people, every exchange that you do, and almost everything in your life is an exchange, that they are benefiting from it as much as you are. You need to be committed to creating the win-win and stop being worried for your future because you're so worried about what might happen or what scarcity might wait for me in the future that you stop overtaking and start taking just as much as they are taking from you, and you make it fair and even. How many times have ENFPs with fake weights or loaded dice get beaten or killed? Because they always get caught because of their reputation. The reputation for being a sleazebag will catch up with them. And they don't even know they're being a sleazebag. And they're always so shocked when someone starts beating them or potentially ends their life because they've just cheated people out of a deal. Because, hey man, I got mine. Hey man, if you were more responsible, it would have been a lose. If you were more responsible, if you were doing your due diligence, if you would have read the fine print, right? Wow. So, folks, nemesis, get over your worry. Because when you get over your worry and you are devoted to making that deal for that other person, everything changes. Everything changes because all of a sudden, your extroverted feeling critic starts to develop. Yeah, because your extroverted feeling critic becomes wise. Wise about what other people are getting versus what you are getting. I thought you were supposed to be the most morally principled of the types with your FI parent because, parent functions are technically more effective and more efficient than hero functions because hero functions get pretty grandiose, but parent functions are very precise. I thought you were supposed to be a moral person. Because if you were someone of high moral character and a principled person, ENFPs, your FE critic would be out wisely making sure that you are receiving that whatever benefit you receive, the other person involved in the deal, that you are caring for them and making sure they are receiving just as much benefit as you are. That is your duty. You are supposed to behave righteously. Where's your righteousness? Do you think the unrighteous are going to be shown mercy? Maybe you should worry about your future if you're being unrighteous. Maybe you should make sure that you're being righteous. Your INFJ unconscious is supposed to be a symbol of righteousness, and it does this. If you don't feel guilty, if you do feel guilty in a deal, you need to go to that person immediately. Think back to every single person you've ever taken advantage of. Think about every kind of deal or exchange or anything, any conversation, and where you got more out of it than the other person. You need to go to that person and realize you're any hero. This is an opportunity for you to show gratitude to that person and go to that person and be charitable to them and make it right. Make it fair. Make it even. Make it right. Righteous. Right? If you do that, you will be wise. Because that's your FE critic. And you will gain for yourself wisdom. I tell you the truth. There is no more valuable a substance in the cosmos than wisdom. Nothing more rare and costly and priceless and precious than wisdom. And you will not get wisdom unless you make it right. Be righteous. Go to the people that you have taken from more than they have from you, and you make it right. Because if you're unbalanced, your superego will know, and you will not get mercy because your superego is waiting to be merciful to you. How many times does your ESTP superego beat you up or beat up other people because it's lending you your power, but then you're going to get blowback. You're going to get blowback when you borrow your ESTP's power. You think beating up that man for not paying you the money that he owes, and he's sitting there laying there on the ground in his kitchen bloody in front of his son that you just beat because he didn't give you the drug money that you were owed because you're trying to pay off your own debts? You think that's not going to be any blowback for that? Then as you're being chased out of an apartment building with some other drug dudes with a Tech 9 in the broad daylight at noon, in the middle of the day in Redmond, Washington, running for your life, only to have federal agents to show up at your door and drag you away to federal, hoping that you're going to name names and betray all the people that you're supposed to be loyal to? You think that's a life you want to live? Yeah, that was my ENFP mentor. That was his life. He used to be known as Mr. Saturday Night in Seattle. And it cost him. You don't want to live that life. Trust me. I mean, it's so easy, right? Come from that LA culture, what it's all about, it's all about popularity. Popularity is everything in LA culture. And of course, that TE child loved me some popularity. Then to come to Seattle and it's like, oh, it ain't about how popular you are. It's all about how much money you have. Real different, Because down, and it's like, oh crap, I don't have any money. T-Child's got to switch, gets the money, get into the drug trade. Oh, things start going south. Oh, wow. This ENFP, his father and his brother were like held hostage. Is that the life you really want to live? Wow. You guys are so depraved. Wake up. It doesn't have to be this way. If you make it fair, if you conduct your deals in your business and you conduct yourself with righteousness where you go out of your way to make sure that another person benefits just as much as you do, or you actually go out of your way to make sure that they slightly benefit just a little bit more than you do to guarantee that there is no question that you've given more to them than they have to you. That reverse covert contract, I guarantee you your reputation will get out and everyone will know that you are the one to do business with. You are the one to listen to. You are the one to be merciful to. You are the one who has that reputation, who has that powerful voice that could change lives. This is who you are. This is who you could be. But no, you just got to get yours. Wow, what a waste. But you decide to behave righteously. You develop the wisdom and your extroverted feeling critic, and you become something far more. Something so far more, and you finally have unlocked your third gateway because you are no longer worried about your future, because you have enough life experience to realize that you can endure anything, that you can create new opportunities for yourself every single day, and you will be okay, such that because you're able to have all this ability and use your philosopher's stone because you study all the time to create new opportunities for yourself, that you will always have a good future for yourself, that you will always be able to give more than you receive, that you will always have that reputation that protects you, because so much depends on reputation. Guard it with your life. An NFP said that. Then at last you're no longer worried about your future, and your worry becomes an ally. And your future becomes an ally because you're intertwining your future, your good future, with the futures of others and giving other people a better future, giving them choices, giving them freedom, and making them free. And then at last, you have personal responsibility, you have humility, and you have wisdom. And at last, your superego finally has enough respect for you to be willing to be integrated with the rest of your mind. And it becomes not a demon, but an angel as you walk through your fourth gateway, not in a chaotic manner, but in an orderly manner, into the demon function, now becoming an angelic function, where your ESTP exists to take the shackles off of all of your fellow mankind, and you are opening their eyes to the truth. Opening their eyes such that they can have the health they want. They can have the wealth they want. They can have the relationships they want. They can have the life they want. They can have the freedom that they want. All the choices. And that you will not allow any government, any system, any man, any organization, any institution, any way of thinking, any rule, any dogma get in the way of the freedom of humanity, while simultaneously making sure that you give them the mercy, because you have been shown mercy. So also you encourage others and show mercy to others by extracting the empathy from others like you would do all the time. Even when you're being shisty, you would live off of other people's empathy. But because you have enough sympathy in yourself to make sure that you are giving more than you receive through your FE critic, because you know that's wise, your ESTP is at last able to gain mercy for all and to gain freedom for all. How? It's funny. It's so interesting. It's almost paradoxical. Almost paradoxical. If you think about it. It's almost paradoxical. ENFPs, they got TI trickster. They don't understand what the truth is. See, what sets people free? It is written, the truth will set you free. The truth. The truth will set you free. But they have TI trickster. They don't know the truth, right? If they study their asses off because they know they don't know anything, if they are being responsible consistently with it and being grateful to people, if they are being wise and making sure that they're giving more than they are receiving, and all those three things combine, when our powers combine, I am Captain Planet. Wait a minute, that's exactly what happens to ESTPs. To ENFPs, they're ESTP superego becomes literally Captain Planet at that moment and is able to change everything because it becomes the master of truth. The FI parent develops and is able to wield gratitude as a result of personal responsibility. The TE parent of ISTJ subconscious is able to develop, and it becomes a master of knowledge, such that it's able to create the I win button, the philosopher's stone for life. So that, hey, I don't know, and then all of a sudden it is in the know with its internal library of Alexandria. It is the philosopher's stone. And then it goes beyond that, where that FE critic is developed, and then it's able to make sure that it is making sure that other people are taken care of, that it is giving more than it is receiving, because that is the wisdom behind it. And all these things combine together such that the ENFP, which was completely unaware of truth, is all of a sudden aware of truth unlike never before, such that it wields truth with its ESTP superego to give freedom at last to all of humanity. Inasmuch as John the Baptist himself may stand before the Son of God, Jesus Christ, and be like, hey, all these people, all of humanity, yeah, we got some of us here, but where's the rest of us? Bring us all together in one place. And then the Son would have mercy on all of man, and all mankind will be brought together in one place forever and ever. All because of the ENFP advocate, because it is your purpose to be the advocate for humanity. And such is the way of your angelic ESTP superego, where you are the person who used to be completely unaware of the truth, and then you become the ultimate master of truth to wield truth for the sake of the absolute good, so that all of mankind gets to enjoy the mercy that has been shown to you. Such is the way of the integrated, enlightened ENFP. If you found this lecture useful, helpful, educational, enlightening, please leave a comment on Patreon. That'd be great. And also, I hope you guys enjoyed this lecture. A little bit longer, but I really want to hit this one out of the park. ENFPs, you guys need a little love, but sometimes you need a little tough love. I mean, that's probably why, your superego is an ESTP, because it's all about tough love, folks. I do not do this because I do not love you. I tell you this truth because I actually do love you, because I recognize your importance. You're supposed to be better than this. You have to be better than this. It is who you are. We will depend upon you. It's so interesting how the most novel and the most worthless of the types, the ENFP and the INFJ, become the most absolutely integral and important of all the types. Because without them, we have no future. Our race has no future. It is important that you stand up every single day. And yes, I understand I use a lot of biblical references and all that. I don't care about that. It's important that you guys understand like all of these themes, all of these roles, all of these archetypes that we end up utilizing every single day so that you know for a fact what your purpose is in your life and you walk it appropriately, knowing full well that because you walk it, you will be given your just reward. Do not give up. Have faith. Because if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you could say to the mountain, be thou removed, and it will get out of your way. The obstacles of life, the mountain. Or those really hidden things in life, those entangled, bitter roots in life that you just don't know that's causing bad fruit, not those mulberry trees. If you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you could say to the mulberry tree, be thou removed, and it will be cast in the sea, where trees will die if they go into the sea. Have faith. If you have faith, and you have all these things, responsibility, humility, wisdom, you can have anything you want. And then you can at last take on your life's purpose by giving the mercy, redirecting the mercy that has been shown to you, to all of us, so that we all can have a future. That's what John the Baptist has done. Why can't you do it? You're just like him. And, John the Baptist is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. Why can't you be the greatest here on earth? Why not? Ask yourself that question. All right. Thank you all for watching, and Happy New Year. 2019 has been a big ride. 2020 is going to be the best one ever. I'll see you then. Have a good night.